Global food security. Food security is often defined in terms of food availability, food access, and food utilization. On a global scale, it shows that infant mortality is falling, human life continues to rise, literacy among the world's adults increases, and more children have access to education than before. However, food production on a global scale continues to lag behind due to population growth. Just like clean air and water, food is not only a basic need but also a human right. One of the Sustainable Development Goals is to eliminate hunger, attain food security, and achieve better nutrition and attainable, sustainable agriculture.
Global food security as a concept may be defined according to discipline. The prevailing definition is provided by the FAO of 2002, which states that food security exists when all people at all times have physical, social, and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meets their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. Model of global food security. The prevailing model of food security revolves mainly around the idea that growing food is at the heart of solution to global hunger and malnourishment. To grow more food, developing countries need to raise farm productivity, mainly through the adoption of improved technologies such as biotechnology and better development infrastructure, both requiring greater investment. The heavy emphasis on the trade and export-oriented agriculture. Here, the market is seen as being able to meet the food security needs all, rather than those who have the greatest purchasing power. Moreover, another model considers food as a social need and a legal right, and emphasizes agriculture as a multifunctional activity. The right to food movement for one directly challenges the commodification of good and calls upon the government to legalize individuals' right to food as a fundamental human right. In 1999, the Committee of Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights emphasized that the right to adequate food is realized when every man, woman, and child, alone or in community with others, has the physical and economic access to at all times to adequate food or means of its procurement. The concept of food sovereignty also embraces a right-based approach to food, although it has a much broader focus than the one taken up by the right to food movement and is far more critical of the emphasis on market-based solutions to hunger and malnourishment. Criticism to the existing models of global good food security. First, the disregard of power relations characterizing food system. Second, there is emphasis on a trade-based approach to revolving hunger. Third, food security approach does not sufficiently consider the wider social and political context within which its objectives of eliminating hunger and malnourishment are pursued. It fails to tackle questions about relations of power that characterize decisions about how food security should be attained. And lastly, proponents of food sovereignty view the existing global food system as altogether unsuitable to meet the food security needs of the global hungry and malnourished, and certainly not capable of meeting the challenges of global environmental change to food system in an ecological sustainable manner. In rejecting the market-centric capitalist food regime as inherently and deeply unjust and biased, food sovereignty calls for an entirely new model based on the rights to local communities to control their own food system. This involves the democratization of national food policies, localized food supply chains, re-regulating the food commodity market in a way where setting their fair prices for both farmers and consumers become possible. Greater public investment in agriculture, genuine agrarian reform to provide greater access to land and tenure security to small and marginalized farmers, and prioritize of agroecological approaches, amongst other things.
Factors influencing global food security. Number 1. Raising food prices and poverty. Number 2. world population growth and the corresponding growth in the demand for food. Number 3, rising incomes and growing per capita food consumption. Number 4, rising costs of fuel and agricultural inputs like fertilizers and pesticides. And lastly, number 5, stagnating or decreasing agricultural yield growth rates in developing countries in the context of poor or dropping levels of public investment in agricultural infrastructure and research and development.
Challenges of global food security. Food security is complex, multidimensional, and multisectoral, and one being compounded by the impact of climate change. Scientists agree that climate change, increasing disaster risk, demographic change, urban growth are just few of the factors that will affect the global food security. Many developing countries are agricultural and need effective support mechanisms to promote increased production. This means that small farmers play a significant role in attaining food security in the world. On the other hand, surpluses produced in most industrialized countries must be discouraged, and even agricultural practices that destroy the environment. The conservation of marginal resources is urgent task because in many parts of the world, cultivation has already been extended to marginal lands, and fishery and forestry resources have been overexploited. These resources must be conserved and enhanced to meet the needs of growing population. Land use in agriculture and forestry must be based on scientific assessment of land capacity, and the annual depletion of topsoil, fish stock, and forest resources must not exceed the rate of regeneration.